Hello, plant lovers. This is Robert, and we're here today with my plant friends, Brother Hug. Yeah, pull them together. This is when Bill Mollison came to the United States. These two publications came out, and they were the start of permaculture. And in there, I believe it's in permaculture too, they talk about sheet mulching.
So as an adult, I got into gardening 32 years ago and have been doing organic gardening, working whatever lot. In Atlanta, we had a 5-acre lot. But initially, when I was doing gardening, I was doing tilling, double dig, all kinds of different methods that used, had to do the soil, and you had to till every year, and you had the weeds every year and everything else. And then Ruth Stout's book many years ago, I can't remember the name.
Right.
It hit a spot with me because I'm essentially a very lazy gardener. I want to do it once. I don't want to have to pull weeds. I don't want to have to pull weeds every week. So he's getting me a house on the screen. But anyway, I got into that and started just doing really the lasagna bit, just layering on the garden, just keeping the beds growing up. I've always worked with paths, so we didn't walk on the beds. All we had was the grass, just the grass. And my wife Janet and I sat there on the porch shortly after we moved in, and we were looking out, and there was nothing. Nothing was moving. Nothing was alive. Just grass, and it was hot and it was dry. And we left a garden in Atlanta where we'd had 20 years of organic garden in the front yard. So then, the year and a half ago, we started the sheet mulching, and you want to go ahead and go to the next picture. Yeah. We sheet mulched it in November of 2006, and then started really planting that next spring. So this is a year and a half into planting the yard here. It's full of life. There's what you see on the left is part of the herb garden of lavender and basil and all kinds of stuff. Big rosemary in the front, thyme going through the cracks, pepper patch on the right. The half wine barrel that was sitting by the front porch is now a tomato tree. It's got 3 different kinds of cherry tomatoes growing in it, and the vines have gone up and back down, so the vines are about 15 feet long on there, and wonderful by the front door thing. But this was done quickly, simply. Went from all grass to a very fertile garden by just simply putting down newspaper, cardboard, manure, and leaves.
Right.
So that got me totally hooked on sheet mulch. I'd done some before, but
yeah. So if we can say sheet mulching is building up the soil, not opening it up, with the concept that you've got an organized community of organisms down there, and if you break it up, you're going to have to put nitrogen on it.
Right. Well, that's actually breaking it up. The whole soil is so full of micronutrients, and growing is just it's so important that you let the soil build. By tilling, you get a quick release of nutrients, but you also get a real quick release of weed seeds. Most of your weed seeds we deal with here are invasives, which, when the soil's disturbed, they sprout. They'll lay the soil dormant for years, and if you go till, then all of a sudden all these weeds start sprouting. And if you mulch on top, then those seeds will rot. And also, as you till, you break up the worms, you break up all this whole life system that's sustaining the soil underneath. Sheet mulching mimics nature. We're basically a forest sheet mulches. You have all of these various layers of material.
Yeah, you
can go ahead and switch up. You have all these layers of material in the forest that create a natural mulch system. In this picture, we're looking at the basics of going on top. The thing I really like with this is, as I said, I'm lazy. You start right on top of the grass. Basically, to sheet mulch, you'll wet down the soil the night before, or even if you don't have time to do that, just hose it down and soak it down real well. Then start putting manures. I use horse manure because I have a very good supply of it. But I'll take a 10 by 10 area, I'll take a truckload of horse manure and put down on top of that. Then I'll go in and on top of that part, on top of the horse manure, I'll put down food. I'll seed it with some compost out of my pile. Whatever compostable materials I've got, I'll put into that layer. Then put down newspaper on top of that. Well, I'll wet it down, then put newspaper on, wet that down. I'll use about 6 sheets of newspaper, but then I go with cardboard on top of that, so it gives a pretty thick soil barrier. Cardboard's easy to come by. It's I like the big boxes. A friend of mine works down at the farmer's market, so he brings me some skid sheets, which are good size. They're clean. They're no staples, no tape. You do need to get the tape off of boxes, get staples out of the boxes. You'll be dealing with those later. On top of that, you can put finished compost, whatever mulch material is readily available. In this area, in Asheville, we have ready supply of leaves. The leaves, people put them out in the fall on the street. I'll go pick up 150, 200 bags of leaves. And the city will also deliver them in the fall. They have 2 deliveries where they pick them up, they vacuum them up, and they'll
but we
deliver
have
you
to
truckloads.
caution people that the city leaves can have plastic and toys and caps and all kinds of things in it that we don't necessarily want. So it's a lot better if you go out and you pick up the bags before the city gets to it.
Yeah, I like the bag. The bag leaves are.
And you try to go to a place that is pretty clean to start with, and these people, the people have done their leaves correct. Let's talk about straw, because there's oat straw, and then there's rye, and then there's wheat, and then there's all kind, and then we can go into hays, which we're not supposed to.
You don't use hays.
Hays at all.
No.
So just make sure that you become knowledgeable about straw and how to put that on there. And here we see a picture of.
This gives a good little better visual of it. You got the grass, the manure, the weed barrier, the compost, and then the straw. And put straw on thick. Don't just sprinkle it down. You need a thick layer to make sure to mulch. Generally, what I did on my beds, we did about 12 to 18 inches of mulch overall, which by springtime had broken down. The barrier was only about probably 4 or 6 inches deep. But there's not a right and wrong way to do, but you do want to start with a good concentrated nitrogen source at the bottom with manure or something really rich compost, then your weed barrier, then some compost, and then straw. I've used leaves a lot. Leaves have the disadvantage that when they're breaking down, they are slug magnets.
And they're fungal too.
They're fungal. Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I remember Chuck Marsh saying at the class is that these plants have to fight through that cardboard. And once they fight through that cardboard, they're rewarded with the rich manures that you put down there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they really take off, and their growth is usually beyond that of not having to fight through that cardboard.
Right. Well, actually, I've generally punched holes in the cardboard to give room for the plants. And if I'm doing it in the spring, I'll actually put a little cup of soil in there for the young plants to grow.
Sure,
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Right.
But it's still...
But they're in that layer, and they take off.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the other method is to build up a dirt mound and then to put your plant right there in that little dirt mound. And that will force it to go through that cardboard.
Right.
Then you have all your straw around it instead of dirt. That usually produces a really strong plant once it gets through that cardboard. And it has to struggle to get through the cardboard. So, but it does. I mean, there's no situation usually, unless it's absolutely dry. So you have to keep watering down your cardboard as you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's best if you can do it. If you can do it now, for spring, then everything will be really ready in the spring. Put some more mulch down, but the cardboard will be ready to be soiled by that point.
And again, if you didn't do it right the first year,
do it
second
again.
year, you just do it again. And you got
every layer you put in just adds much more material to the soil. And by not breaking, if you've got really heavy clay, you want to break it up some at the first with just a fork and aerate the soil a little bit. But by not doing anything again, then the soil just keeps getting richer. I mean, I just cut the plants and let the roots rot. This is a picture doing around a tree. I mean, this is like if you're planting a tree or even an existing tree, go ahead and do it around, leave about 6 inches at least from the base of the tree. But cover that with a good layer of mulch.
Right. And also going back to my early days in this area, and I worked down at the farmer's market at Good Earth Organics with Jim. One of the things products that he sold for clay was green sand.
Right.
And if anybody has clay, and we're lucky up in this area that we don't have a lot of it, but it's still there because all the topsoil is down in the Mississippi River in the dead zone when they cut down the big trees, whoever those guys were.
I like the green sand in there, and kelp. Kelp's another one that brings back the sea, helps return our nutrients to us that wash down.
The sea, which we're screwing up so badly. Okay, so let's go on to some of these other books that you have brought in to show some people.
Well, I got 2 books I brought. Bill Mollison's books are excellent on permaculture, but for urban permaculture, there's 2 that I particularly like because they're quite accessible. The first one is Gaia's Garden by Toby Hemingway. Is it? Anyway, Gaia's Garden has very good information on doing sheet mulching. It's just a good urban permaculture guide. The other one is Food Not Lawns, which is not as much of a the Gaia's Garden is really a how-to guide. It has got very good information. Food Not Lawns has an awful lot of good hands-on, but this is more also into getting into community permaculture.
Wherever you are, even if you're in a rental unit and it's your landlord's little plot, go ahead and try and help better the soil condition than you have. That is all that I think we need to all do to bring back a sad situation as far as soil is concerned. There are some places where organic farms that have built back the soil where you could stick your hand all the way in to a deep dark brown soil that is alive.
My garden in Atlanta, I could plant this deep with bare hand.
Yeah,
it was just
and that's the goal for everybody around themselves, and that's one of the goals out at Eagle Feather Organic Farm, is to bring back a soil that has been sadly destroyed either through pasture, in my case, and then fire, as well as we've just spoken about, cutting down the big trees to start the process of rebuilding our soil all over America.
Well, this summer brought up a big advantage of sheet mulching and mulching in general. My new garden, we don't have the pictures up on that one, but I put a new garden in this winter that was it's my vegetable garden. It's a fenced area. I had to water once with city water. I was able to water it through the whole cycle this summer. This incredibly dry summer we had, I was able to make it off of my rain barrels.
Yeah.
Because I'd water around the base, and that mulch just held that plant. My tomatoes, everything else survived right through that dry.